might not be able to.
You're good to go.
Alright, first, I just want to say hi, my name is Stephen J. Ridge II. I'm running for the UGL's president. And I'm going to start out by just quickly going over what was over my application, since I know less than 10% of the people view it. It's the cool part about being an administrator, you can actually see the percentage of the outreach. Then I'm just going to quickly go over my agenda and then open it up for questions, alright? So the first question was, who are you and what's your major, yada yada yada. So as I said, I was Stephen. I'm currently a business major with small business management and administration as my focal points. From that, you do a lot of working in small group settings with small board of directors of generally groups that are under 300, which coincidentally, UGL is exactly at 300 last time I checked earlier this semester. Also, with administration, you work with people like, let's say, you're president of sales or you're capture the flag admin. You work with people that have direct supervision of underlings. So you get experience with working with people. So also from that with UGL, I've been here since freshman year, so that's, what, 5 years? Not 5 years. 5 semesters now. I've also been on the exec board for 4 of those 5 semesters. From that, I've ran with the DeFries administration and currently the Bright administration. And from those, you can kind of see how UGL's changed and been shaped and how stuff has started from such humble beginnings and began to grow. In business, there's 2 terms. There's revolutionary change and evolutionary change. A revolutionary is much like a revolution. It's very sudden, it's spur from top down, immediate change. On the other hand, there's evolutionary change. It starts out small, consistently grows and changes until it finally hits where it's wanting to. Like the tax rate, it slowly changes, it's evolving over time. And from that, I've seen ideals that have started in both administrations that have continued to grow and flourish. With my administration, I hope to not only keep those flourishing, to actually bud and come to what we've wanted them to be over all this time, but also to implement some new ones in order to help those continue to grow. So from that, my agenda, like I said, I'm going to keep stuff growing and continuing the awesomeness that it is. So I'm going to open it up to questions right now. Goff.
I said previously, just by that, dues has been a very divisive thing since we passed the Constitution, and it paralyzed the exec board before this, more or less, under DeFries. It was a divisive issue, and under this exec board, it was a very tumultuous issue before it became passed. What is your opinion on dues, and what will you do with dues?
First of all, I like dues, considering we are in itself an entity. We need to be able to sustain ourselves. The organization has said many times, or the university has said to our organization many times, they will not give money to an organization that cannot sustain itself. And because of that, we've been denied dues from the university and amenities and benefits from that. Second of all, with dues, I actually like them when they're correctly implemented. I know even though it was passed, some of the administrators have blatantly said they're not going to, which is actually a breaking of our exec board, which has presidential authority to remove them from office. We've decided with our current president, we were just going to be a little lenient with it, since we weren't for sure how long they were going to stay. And I do want to take a very firm stance on that. If it is a rule and we have as an exec board passed it, it has to come into effect. Does that answer your question?
Sure.
All right. You.
In your intro, you talked a lot about all your business qualifications and how those are going to help. However, do you see UGL as a whole as a business, or do you see it just as, at least what I personally see it as, which is kind of just a club with mostly filled with man and women childs playing with Nerf guns?
Well, see, the problem is between the player base and the administration side. As an admin, you have to look at something on a different point than what the players see it as. The players, yes, see it, but as an administrator, you have to see it behind the scenes. The university in itself is an entity. It is a business, much as the organizations are. We are a subsidiary of them. So we have to think of ourselves in business in situations. Because business stuff, this whole entire semester being on the exec board has been a great experience, because every week in my class, we can talk about something in my management class. Stuff like admins not knowing the role of what they're supposed to do. We'll bring that up. I've started out just making it as a fake organization, which is my current business, and just adding an LLC onto it and throwing it as that. But then eventually, the professor actually just emailed me and asked if it was a club on campus, because the way it sounded was a club. I just admitted, yeah, it's a club. It's the UGL I'm in right now. So that was actually a lot that gets discussed. It's quite often that business majors and finance majors can start to brainstorm by giving information. Currently with our stuff, we do a lot of feedback. We do something and then ask the player base, and that's actually the worst thing you can do. The best thing to do is either do feed forward, which is I survey, I find out, I test the water before I go in, or concurrent control, which is you're doing it at the same time. Feedback, you're just kind of throwing darts at the wall and hoping they stick. And from that, we've got a bunch of stuff coming out. I know a great number of people that are loving to help us. Anything from web designers in the classes to like business majors. I've actually found a replacement parliamentarian through the paralegal department.
Woo!
Yeah.
I aspire this question, so I'm going to ask you the same. I want your qualifications in a little bit more detail. You were pretty detailed, but I wanted it more.
Business or UGL, or both? I can
Give me both.
Okay.
Give me both.
So business ones, I've ever since middle school competed in Business Professionals of America. Up until 2014, I was the #1 in the nation for running small business management and extemporaneous speech. I had ran those consistently, came to the college expecting it to be there, but unfortunately a couple drunk guys at Nationals actually got our chapter closed here at Ball State. So I haven't been able to continue since, because there is a trial of a 4-year grace before you're able to reunite an organization on a national level. So from that, I've had experience with leading people. I've currently a president of the LARPing club on campus. I'm sitting there, I'm also the treasurer of the cricket club, and I'm the parliamentarian of the rugby club. So there's those. UGL-wise, like I said, I've been on the exec board for 4 semesters now. Of those, I've been on the exec board as the Daggett administrator. And the Daggett is that stepchild of the group. We don't exactly fit in, depending on your wording of our purpose. So, you know, we kind of see stuff. It's like, instead of using Nerf, what are they, blasters? Instead of Nerf blasters, they are foam weapons, you know. It's full contact sport, it's a national organization with an LLC tied behind it. So I've got experience there of working under corporations. And that's actually helped a lot, because by talking over the summer with them, they've actually helped pinpoint me in some of the people I need to talk to on campus as an incoming president, or if I was one. Stuff like Office of Student Life, I'm always talking with Margaret every Thursday because there's always something going on. I'm trying to still get the job there right now, it's just a little temporary free internship. I've also have contacts in that's human business, HRA, Residence Hall Association. That's where you'll get a lot of your funding for HVC. That's how we get flyers inside the dorms. You have to ask. Stuff like that. Then the rec center. Being in the sports club so long, I know Josh on a very personal level. He's the one that even asked me to grow the beard right when he shaved his, because I was a little Josh Jr. From that, he's, under my good name, is willing to help push along the paperwork. The exact second I submit a sports one, instead of waiting a month, he calls an emergency meeting, and within a week we are accepted or denied. And considering I know the entire exec board on that, I can say we have about at least a 90% chance of getting accepted because of that.
What would be the benefits of that going through?
Benefits are great. Currently, we have very few. We have still some untapped ones that I learned about when helping make that LARPing club on campus. One of them is we get a bank account. That is the one thing I actually thought only sports clubs got, were bank accounts. Technically, anyone can apply for one, and it's just a nice way of being able to have a deposit checking stuff you can use online. You don't have to actually do withdrawals and hand to people. You can just be like, what's the website you're buying this from? There's the account payable for them. Stuff like that. Other stuff is we get funding. On average, let's see, I believe the smallest sports club on campus was the fitness boxing club that started last year, and last semester, after their semester trial, they were given funding. They were given on the lowest amount they could get, which was $500 a semester. You actually get penalized if you do not spend all that, at the very least. From that, we also get tickets into leadership positions and seminars. I know that there's the President's Retreat, which is always great for us, which I believe our current president went to, am I right? Yeah, you went there. Besides that, there's on average at least a monthly thing going on, from anything of disabling discriminatory stuff in your organization, how to grow it, how to be more advertisable, stuff like that. Plus, you're no longer working with Office of Student Life, which is a little bit bigger. You work with a rec center, which is bigger for employees, but our board we have to work with is a lot smaller. It's more personal. A lot of times, Josh will just come to the event. I know it's quite often in a fencing club. Josh had actually just came on and would throw on a uniform and just grab foil and start going at it. So that's the fun stuff. I mean, you always think it's funny when a dude with a big old 8-inch long beard comes out and fences, but it's another thing when you bring that back up and now he's like, yeah, I think you guys need an extra $100, $200. So those are the benefits from it. The drawbacks are we have to sign waivers. And by the look on your face, you're probably wondering, wait, don't we already? Which is a yes. That's currently the only drawback being a sports club is you have to sign a waiver. Yes.
Wouldn't being a sports club though make it so that we would get decreased or no potential for alumni to participate in games? And as a whole, usually UGL, at least historically, we try to be pretty alumni friendly.
The problem with being alumni friendly is, I will answer that first. Yes, you can stop alumni. The difference is you have to have a separate sheet for them. You have to have a student one and a faculty or alumni one. As long as they've still got their Ball State ID, they can still come. The problem is currently is no club on campus is allowed to have an alumni. If at any point off of student life it came to an HBC invitational, which is the weird one, or the more common one we see, an HBC game, and they see an alumni, we actually get very heavily penalized, and depending on how many alumni there, we could even get shut down because of it. Which that's where having contacts in there help. Something from you guys are getting shut down to Peggy, please. I mean, we're sorry, we didn't mean to do that. All right, it's -5 points, -6 will get you kicked out. You can earn them back, stuff like that. So as a sports club, like I said, you can technically still have alumni. Heck, last semester in fencing club, we had a janitor on campus. He just showed his ID and that's how he was able to sign. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yes.
What games do you feel you have the least experience in, and how will that affect you?
Least experience would probably be Assassins. I helped out the administrator for a little bit, ping-ponging some ideals and helping her kind of get how the game would work and then just let her go. Besides that, this semester I have been to every game and I'm pretty consistent on them. Either I'm there playing or I'm there as a bean counter, having to count out the attendance of the game in order to make sure they still actually have their numbers that they're saying they're having, so we don't have a problem where suddenly a tier 1 game drops to a tier 2 because they weren't able to keep enough of an attendance. So yes, this semester I have been there in all of them. I feel like my strengths though would be Battle Royale, Dag here of course, that one I've faced my little child. Then we've got stuff like HVC, that's always fun, and then Dodgeball, that one's always great if there's enough people there. Yes.
Okay. We're running under the premise of that the Constitution's going to pass. If so, and you were more or less forced to choose, would you choose DAG or would you choose President? And then I have a second question. I'll let you answer
Well,
that first.
currently, right now, we already have someone in place for DAG if it has to. So, President, of course. DAG has become pretty self-sufficient right now. They're up on their feet. They are the only one on campus of our organizations that have actually collected over 100% of our dues. Right now, we've not only collected that, but we've also had some of the AMCAR kids just give us donations of $10, $20 here in order to help us keep increasing. Yes?
Alright, as president, you're gonna have to be interacting with the players and the admins, though over even the past semester, you've had a lot of public negative interactions with players, including things like just straight out lying and stuff as an admin.
Okay, so I'm just
how do you
gonna,
plan on
so actually the
approaching
thing is, yes, you are right, we have to, but at the same time, a president has to be stern on the rules. I know in some cases with mods actually just blatantly not doing their job, that can become a problem, which I'm actually glad with that check and balance, because now a president in theory has authority to
this?
overrule an
You're not
actual
addressing my
admin.
question because you
I
cut me
don't-
off.
Well, see, you were talking about that, but continuing on, we have had problems with that with the university and such, and we have to make sure there's no blatant cheaters in the situation, which through this we're hoping to fix, make sure people are aware of stuff like this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, stuff like that. We also have learned through this HBC game, we need to make sure we're better aware with the desk staff, so they are aware of what's going on. Because since they were not aware of what was going on, they were actually very scared of that situation. And like I did say, yes, Ahmad did not do his job at all, which was saddening, but yes. Yes.
Continuing along with his idea, because I think the question was missed a little bit, is a specific example was the extended argument on Facebook, which degraded down to, in my opinion, personal insults. I'm, myself included. I apologize for that, but it got down to the smell of my room and things like that. I don't think that confrontational nature is as admissible in a president. Is that something that's going to be a problem during your presidency at all, do you think?
No, I mean, you have to have a, like you said, it has to be a confrontational nature. I mean, someone's kicked back and just like, you ask a question and I respond kind of thing. I know because my father was a drill sergeant and 90% of my family's hard of hearing. I talk loud and it seems like it comes across very loud a lot of times when actually it's not. I mean, I myself am legally deaf in my left ear, which means I have to talk loud. Whispering, I can't even hear my own self-talk. So with stuff like that, it's stuff like, you know, if it's not confrontational in nature, it's just like, hey, you know, you ask why something doesn't happen and someone gives an answer. If it's not confrontational, that actually becomes the problem.
Last
When one of the
question.
admins thinks it's confrontation.
Last question.
Alright, golf.
Funding has become a sticky situation because of the lack of money we have. Would you give a benefit to DAG over the other games since it is, as you said, your baby, your child? Or would you not necessarily be fair, but be understanding and give money as necessary?
Well, I mean, necessary is necessary. When people submit their stuff at the beginning of the semester, and if it's not submitted, then it works its way down the chain, so there's that. Also, DAG is kind of in that loophole of suddenly the player base itself is waiting to pull off from the UGL, and right now as the admin, I'm trying to keep them in the UGL. They are very absent about going against it ever since the funding issue. Since there was not an NDA and I was able to, because of that, explain the situation, what was going on. These people said they did not and this was their reasons. Ever since then, they've actually had quite an animosity and a hatred to those that said no over it. So that became a problem a lot at DAG. And then another thing with us bringing in national organizations now, like the National DAG chapter giving us some funding for stuff next semester. We also have the AmpGuard kids, since they're actually not allowed to. Different DAG, different LARP rule books require different things. Like for instance, DAG here requires very little, while AmpGuard requires quite a bit. You have to be an X amount of miles away from another group, and because of that, they're in a gray area. The max is 50 miles, and the current one is 49. So because of that, we've actually taken on quite a bit of cross gamers for AmpGuard and DAG, and they have each shelled out currently $20 to us individually to buy weapons. Which of course I gave back to them and just said, hey, you guys pull it and buy it and give it to the community. Because currently as being DAG and World War III being really, and I believe some HDC also took in dues, because of that it's like we begin to have some leeching siphoning effects where certain ones that are giving a lot of the money aren't able to take out their own money. So because of that I've just kind of waited to see how stuff would stabilize in the market right now for dues. And to also make sure next semester admins actually do try to take dues.
Alright, I believe that's it. Alright. Who's taking my